We have now, the autism rates have gone from now, most recent numbers we think are going to be about 1 in 31, 1 in 12, so they're going up again from 1 in 10,000 when I was a kid. And we are going, at your direction, we are going to know by September. We've launched a massive testing and research effort that's going to involve hundreds of scientists from around the world. By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
So big. Think of that. So it was 1 in 10,000 children had autism, and now it's 1 in 31. Not 31,000, 31. That's a horrible statistic, isn't it? And there's got to be something artificial out there that's doing this. So you think you're going to have a pretty good idea, huh?
We will know by September.
There will be no bigger news conference than that. So that's it. If you can come up with that answer where you stop taking something, you stop eating something, or maybe it's a shot, but something's causing it. It can't be from 10,000 to. Can you imagine that, Marco? That's a big number.
Okay. That's about all I can deal with that. I mean, that was basically the clip anyways. So a couple things here. First of all, I think it's very sad that Donald Trump, being somebody who has a kid with autism, would say that this is a terrible thing. I know this is Trump. I know this is just how he talks. He can only talk if things are good or terrible. Those are the only two emotions for him, right? But I mean, just that fact alone is just so startling to me. I'm like, you really? Are you kidding me? But I mean, just as a whole, we'll get into like my thoughts on like the breakdown of like what autism really is and what like when they're talking about autism, like the different things that could mean in this day and age. But I just want to focus on like the negative connotation that is put on autism in general. I think when I see these things, I'm telling you, like when I'm driving and something on the radio comes up for Autism Speaks or one of these like autism things, I immediately shut off the radio. It drives me so mad hearing people talk about autism in a negative light. And this goes back to what I was just saying with the Dave Smith Douglas Murray stuff. How there is an expertise, there is a system that we have been given for decades and decades and decades. A certain education system, a certain system that, affects the job market, right? Like the fact that certain jobs, you have to have certain certifications and, how that just that influences everything, right? And I think for anybody with autism or anybody that knows anybody with autism, they know it's no secret that those people tend to struggle with that more. Maybe not. I mean, maybe in some cases they actually excel in it. But I mean, I think a lot of times you find people who are autistic that do struggle with that. Now, I think it's the thing that is I find so problematic when people put negative connotations on autism is it's like I just said, like they're citing the autism as the problem. Whereas my argument would be, I think the problem is that we have a system as a society set this way that it does not cater to that. Not like in a way where like I think there should be welfare for autism or like special things or whatever. Like I don't believe that. But like, I think people with autism, they learn in different ways, right? Even the whole idea of like tests and quizzing, like I think with things like ChatGPT and the internet, it's like, is the whole precedent for us like even needing to know and understand all this stuff off the top of our head? Like, is that even relevant anymore? Like I think you can make a pretty argument that it's not. Like me as an adult in everyday life, I've never been like, oh, what did I learn in 10th grade history class that could help me in this situation? Or what did I learn in 11th grade math class? No, that never happens. I pull up my phone and I find it that way. And people think that's lazy. People think that's wrong. And that's stupid. No. That's the world we're living in. You have every right and you have every right to be able to use whatever tools are available to you to maneuver through that. You shouldn't have to rely on this decades, irrelevant education and governmental system we have. So when I see people put negative connotation on autism, it's because that they have that lack of understanding. Number two, I think, and it's been a couple years since I've heard RFK talk on this topic. He did do a Joe Rogan episode where the whole episode was him diving into autism. Yeah, it was interesting. I do think he had some really revealing things about it. But here's the thing: when the whole idea that autism is caused by vaccines, I think there is possibly some truth to that in some sense. But I don't think that all these things are the same. I think there's three different things happening right now that all play into autism, or that play into the mass diagnosis of autism. I mean, that's not even getting into the day and age we live in of self-diagnosis of autism. As someone who was diagnosed in the 90s, it pisses me off to see people who have a little bit of anxiety and maybe spent a couple more years than they should have on the computer, and now they have autism. It's retarded. But there are three different things that I think about when I think of autism. I think of somebody like me who was born with autism, who from day one showed lack of communication skills. I was nonverbal till the age of 5. I had trouble understanding, my mother would try to communicate with me and she would just have a hard time with it. I had a hard time in school. My first day of school, I had to be taken home because I was running amok. There was just, social cues and social structures. I just had such a lack of, not even understanding, but the ability to understand that. So there's that from birth. There's this other thing that RFK Jr. is talking about where they have taken kids who are from the ages of 2 and up, and there's data to suggest that they get the vaccine, and then later the parents report that they're doing things like walking on tippy toes, or I don't remember the other ones, but I remember specifically the walking on tippy toes thing. They develop certain behaviors from a vaccine. And I believe that is probably happening. I think to say that is not happening at all is ignorant. Again, going back to the elite class idea, that's their way of just dismissing anything that goes against their worldview. They're just nope, nah, that's not happening. That's not happening. And there's the third thing, this effect that comes from, that comes from this exposure, this overexposure to technology. Kids who spend all day on the computer and don't get any kind of social interaction whatsoever, and aren't born with something, but develop a behavior, develop an ability to, XYZ, be able to date or have friends or whatever. And that's a third thing. So I think these three groups of people, this is just my theory. I'm not an educator. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a autist and an autist expert, right? But being someone who is autistic and having known other people with autism and learning what I have about it, that's my best assertion. I think there are three different things that are happening with this. And this is the problem when you have people like RFK Jr. and Trump lumping all these things together, saying this is a problem, saying it's problematic, which is bullshit. Look, man, we have there's probably several more, but I can think of at least 2 different people off the top of my head who are the most successful people on the planet. Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, both memed like crazy. Jeff Bezos, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a little bit of it too. that are billionaires, multi-billionaire successful people who have created companies from the ground up and have given immense amounts of technology, tools, things that have made everybody's lives better, who are riddled with autism. I mean, you still, even those like Joe Rogan interviews where like Mark Zuckerberg actually looks kind of comfortable, dude, the tism comes out, man. And like Elon Musk, oh my God, that guy gets like, that man's very clearly autistic. Like it's a meme basically, right? And these are the most successful people on our planet. And this is Donald Trump just got done working with Elon Musk. And he's going to sit here and say, this autism is a terrible thing. Can you imagine telling that to Elon Musk? And look, I'm like, as somebody with autism, there's definitely areas in my life that make having autism very challenging. But that's not, I don't believe that that's because of me. I think that's because of the system we live in. The system that was predicated on how people acted before autism was talked about. It's probably true that the rates of autism have risen. I wouldn't deny that. There's probably some kind of, in my case, right? Like there's probably some combination of genetics that like eventually down the line just created this neurological thing, right? Or with the vaccines being created, like that also, to some extent created that, right? Like, but then to cite the problem as that, instead of taking an open-minded worldview and saying, hey, maybe the problem isn't that these people have autism. Maybe the problem is our society and our structures are built this way, in a way where they cannot maximize their potential.